Witcher Season 1 is absolutely trash. First off, too many white people. Can we get some fucking diversity up in here? And I haven't played any of the games or read any of the source material, but I do not like this story at all.
All right, listen. You said that we were gonna have some conflict on this because I know you weren't that fond of it. You think it's terrible?
It is awful. I like.
Awful. What?
I was thinking about, hey, should I rewatch this? And then I'm like, I'll just do one. I'll watch one like season 1 recap, and then it just remind me of how much I do not like this.
Okay, let me ask you this.
This
Let me ask you
series.
this. Is it that like the story and like the concepts that you hate, or is it like the presentation of the season, how it's like 3 different timelines or whatever, and they don't even it's like really poorly executed timeline wise.
I think it's a little of everything because I love fantasy. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Game of Thrones. I'm trying to think of other like big fantasy genre properties that I really like, and I really wanted to like this series, but non-linear storytelling is like it's just first off it's confusing if you knew everything that was going on. Like, oh yeah, okay, I totally understand these people's names and everything, but they're throwing like so many different names and concepts, and like, well, this is the rule of that, and some of the terms too. Like, I hate the term mutant in a fantasy setting. Mutant makes me think of like nuclear mutation and stuff like that, and like X-Men sci-fi
I mean, this is
fantasy.
this is not that extreme, I guess, but he is a mutant. Like they literally put chemicals in his body and like, tortured him and fucked him up, like
I know, but
genetically.
that's like,
He's a mutant.
well, I mean, yeah, but that's like closer to like alchemy than it is like chemistry in, I don't, in fantasy settings. You know what I'm saying? So it should have been like
Yeah, usually I guess.
cursed or
I understand
changed.
what you're saying, but
It's,
I think it's not wrong. He's definitely a mutant.
I'm not saying it's not wrong. I'm just saying it just feels weird. Also,
All right.
that the term law of surprise, it's such a stupid name. I use
Yeah.
the law of surprise.
Yeah, like, I was just thinking. I've been watching Witcher season 2 right now, and they mentioned Law of Surprise like one time. So there are a lot of things in this that are confusing. This is not a perfect show. I do like this thing, but it's not a 10 out of 10. This is just a good show. I think it's entertaining to me because I like the genre. I like Henry Cavill a lot, and I like some of the concepts in here. But like the Law of Surprise, for example, I don't know why you would know of all people, but is it only used to get children? Because the only instances that we've heard of it used or seen it used, and we've seen it or we've heard of it a couple times throughout season 1, it's only been used to get kids.
Oh,
Is that the
yeah.
only thing that it's for? Because the definition of it was like that which you have, but you don't know you have it yet, or whatever. I don't remember the exact wording. But is that literally just for children? Because there's got to be other stuff that qualifies.
I mean, I hope for, the children's sake, that's not the only way it works. But from my understanding that I've seen online, because I just did a bunch of recap stuff, because I was not going to watch another episode of this thing. If you, like you said, if you have something that you do not know you have, then that thing is kind of like bonded to that person, called the law of surprise. So, just so happened.
What if you have more
these
than one?
I mean, I guess if you just came into, so my understanding would be like, if that person you call a law of surprise on me, and then I learned I had a huge inheritance, like you would be destined to have part of that inheritance, or like large portion of land or something.
Gotcha. So if it's
I
like
think that's
if
what
this is, well, again, that's fine, but that like now makes me wonder: is it only like accidental children now that you are
think
like
it's just
owed this person? Because if you try to have a kid and you're planning this out, like I want to have a kid, then you know you have it. Like I don't know, there's gonna be a little period in there where you're wondering, like, am I pregnant? Did we successfully impregnate me? I guess you don't know right then, but otherwise that doesn't seem like it qualifies. I don't know. I agree with you.
also
Lost Prize is stupid as hell.
it's stupid, and also what's the benefit of it? They didn't show us any upside of the law of surprise. Like, oh yeah, I would use the law of surprise because you could get all these things. It just happens that he uses it and gets shit on. I was like, oh fuck, man, now I'm destined with this kid. And I
Well,
feel like there's a lot of
in the
downside than there's upside.
in the defense of the one instance that we saw, he didn't even want this fucking thing. He just said it because he needed to pick something because they insisted that they repay him somehow. You know what I
Give me
mean?
a
Like that
kiss.
at
Give me a kiss
least.
on the lips.
Yeah, from that hedgehog guy. Hell yeah.
Oh, dude,
That
yeah,
spiky
before
little
the
tongue.
transformation.
Yeah. No, I agree. In the nonlinear storytelling aspect too, it was very confusing. I did understand what was going on because they start off with Sintra like falling to Nilfgaard or whatever. And by the way, that little battle at the beginning was terrible. Like the
Yes,
little
it was.
But again, though, is that really that terrible? Or is this like a more realistic interpretation of how these battles would go compared to these amazing things we've seen, like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones? Also, you said at the beginning they introduce you to just so many concepts right away, all these different terms, all these different whatever. They did the same thing in Game of Thrones, but it was so much better in Game of Thrones. Like in
Yeah.
the first episode, I was confused with Game of Thrones, no doubt. There were so many names, everybody was meeting each other. But first of all, there was incest, so that's an immediate plus. And
Yeah, hook
secondly,
me
it
in.
exactly hooked me in. There's just one timeline going on. Separate continents, sure, but like visually, there was a lot going on differently between those two continents. So there was no like getting them crossed over in our minds. Versus in this show, it's like it's the same character as Geralt throughout several different timelines.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know what I
Well, there's
mean?
also but there's also visual stark differences in Game of Thrones where you have the
That's what I
wall,
said.
and it's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
well, I'm
said.
just saying, like, you have these different locations they go to. This is, Danny. It's like these open plains, the wall, frigid snow, and then like a city. It's like, but in here, what are the three places? I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah, that's my thing, and also the narrative, the non-linear storytelling too. I started to say it, and I just trailed off. They start in Sintra at the beginning, fall into Nilfgaard, and at least when I was watching this show, I did not fully understand that there were different timelines going on until later on in the season when Geralt went to that party at Sintra, and it was still there,
Yes.
and the queen was alive, and it was the whole, law of surprise thing. I didn't know until that point,
Neither did
and
I.
it is really strange because to this day I don't fully know what exactly the timelines are. Like the whole Yennefer being converted from a super hot hunchback into a disgusting slut. Did that happen like 1,000 years ago?
Yeah, that hump is so tempting to. You
Dude,
have to
it's
have
so
sex with,
tempting. I know, and then
dude.
also too
Something to
that
grab
weird,
onto. Like you
that
never. You're like,
racially,
but
so that racially ambiguous guy that she gets with at the beginning of that sorcerer. Yeah, the
yeah,
combination of those two, man, that works for me.
he he is that guy Elaine dated.
Yeah, it's like that super pale black guy, but actually just a white guy.
Yeah, but this guy looked like he has his wisdom teeth just taken out like the day before. The guy in The Witcher. He has like this weird swollen look to his
Yeah, he
face.
does. He's got that hamster look. Oh, dude.
Names like Nilfgaard is so weird to me. You know what? I'm not a pervert. Textbook definition.
Right.
Probably I am though. But all I think about is either MILF or nymphomaniac when I hear Nilfgaard. Is that
I
me?
did not think
Like,
of Nymphomaniac, but obviously, dude, everybody says Milfgard. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how many groups of friends watched Witcher when it came out last year or 2 years ago, whenever it was around like the United States. 90% of them said the word Milfgard at one point as a joke.
Yeah.
90%, and maybe even more, maybe 101% said that.
So, Nilfgaard or Milfgaard, their
Yeah.
armor, everything else in this show, concept-wise, like armor, costume design, actually looks pretty good. What's up with this like fucking wrinkly armor? Talking about?
Yeah, it's like
I don't like
I
that.
do.
It's weird. That's not even
It
like
is strange.
easy to make. I don't think that'd be like, oh yeah, we just quickly put that in our little cast, make the wrinkly armor, and we can mass produce this shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with it. It is strange. Like, imagine, I don't know what the utility is in it, and also sounds like a pain in the ass to make. It's not. It doesn't seem like it'd be that protective because of. I don't even know. It just looks like it distracts from the protective nature of it. It is odd. Milfgard,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
canonical name Milfgard.
So are you invested in anybody besides Geralt in this series?
Well, I was not invested in the girl, but I've been watching season 2, and I'm actually invested in her a little bit now because
Her
listen,
name Siri or
Siri,
something like
right?
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cirilla, whatever. They're writing her character decently. Like she's not annoying. She's not trying to do things that like you don't want her to do. It's not cringe. She's not holding Geralt back at all. At least in season 2, so it's kind of hard to look back and isolate season 1. But I was disappointed in her in season 1 because I was just every time they showed her, I didn't care what her and the little black elf were doing. I didn't care at all. Speaking of the elves, I did not give a shit about the elf like genocide concept at all.
Yeah.
Like they introduced it to us on that mountainside with that weird devil thing, you know,
Yeah.
and they kind of went
Elaine.
into it.
Blah.
Yeah, Putty and um, they kind of went into it a little bit, but it's just so stupid. But I didn't care at all. And it's another thing. In this season, they really go into it in season 2. Like they're really delving into it and they're showing the prejudice. But I don't know why. Again, I don't even know why this happened. My brother mentioned like he's like headcanoning maybe like thousands of years ago. The oldest sorcerer people that started fucking up the world by bringing monsters into it and shit were elf because the oldest language is the elder language, right? The elf language. So I don't know. I have no idea what it's about. I don't care about it. I wasn't invested in the elves. I'm not invested in Cirilla as of season 1. I'm not invested in Well, no, you know what? I'm invested in Yennefer. I am invested in Yennefer. I don't really
I'm
like her
not.
character
Well,
that much, but I am. I think I'm interested in what she's doing. I want her to do certain things versus other things, and also I don't know what her name is, like the teacher, sorcerer, the mage, the woman
oh
we're
yeah, I know
talking
what you're
about.
talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't know for the show. I know she's got a kid. She looks like she's got a kid, and she
Oh
still
hell
got it.
yeah.
And that's sincere.
Okay, so I agree. This trope of the wild pagan savages that live in peace and harmony with the earth this needs to end. This is so dumb. I honestly hate this. It's so predictable. Like we're the industrialists that want to come in and change this park into a mall like they did in the '80s.
Dude,
It's like okay,
I support gentrification, man.
well, it's just so boring. Oh wow, the savages are the good guys all along. Okay, when are you gonna make these guys the bad guys? And they kind of deserved it, or not even that. You don't have to go to either extreme. You could just play kinda in the middle, where you're like, well, they weren't good, they weren't evil, and same with the other people, and that's where you're like, oh man, whose side do you take in this situation?
I know.
You know,
It's like,
that's way better storytelling.
there are templates to stories like the hero's journey and stuff like that that kind of always work, right? But then there are things too that just get done repeatedly again and again. And then I think people see that, like filmmakers see that because they've just been done a lot of times and there are successful movies of it, that's the only way to go. When in reality, it's just a coincidence. You know what I mean? And this is one of those things because it's true. How many fucking times have we seen the industrial, like you said, evil industrialist, evil people kind of trying to come over and take over land for some like robotic like utilitarian purpose and ignoring like the spiritual nature of these people and all that stuff. I hate it. It is. It's bad. And so, but by that, no, I'm actually glad that they only gave us the tiniest little hint of it in that season.
Season one.
Because yeah, it really
Now
wasn't
in
that
season two, it's
significant.
coming out more.
It well, kind of, yeah. I mean, you have to watch it, is, but really they're just being used by Nilfgaard now. So
Oh.
they kind of mentioned it. It's not being shown a ton. The only thing they're really showing is how brutal people actually are to the elves sometimes. That's it. It's not really elaborated on a ton. I don't know.
All right. Well, another trope in season one is this weird, physically powerful women, like the queen, the Cersei's grandmother.
Yes.
They make her like physically powerful without making her look physically powerful. If you're gonna have a physically powerful person, of a woman or whatever, they should look physically powerful. I mean, these people are out there. Lord knows my search history is like filled with them. These
Yeah, dude.
powerful women.
This is not a lie. You should see my Instagram saved posts. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Saved post Instagram. Holy shit.
Well, there's other ways to make women look powerful besides, like, hey, I'm a guy that drinks alcohol a lot. I'm like one of the dudes. Like in Game of Thrones, I know I keep comparing it to this. They display powerful women without having them like in different ways of them being powerful than
Brienne
just
of
being
Tarth,
this like
right?
then showing like some display of toxic masculinity like they'd say right now. Like yeah, well, Brienne of Tarth is way more of the typical showing male features to show strength. But who's her name? The mother of what's her name? The Tyrell lady.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know what I'm
the old
talking about?
lady. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
her and Tywin, those two are powerful people because they're like you can see their cunningness and like how they can pick you apart mentally as they just sit there. Like you feel like you're
They have
now on
such
the
a good
chessboard
dynamic.
and they're the ones using you. Yeah, they have a great dynamic. But everybody else, like other women in that series too, you can see how they can be powerful in different ways. And in this, it's like how do we show the queen is powerful? She kills people in the front lines like every other guy. I don't know. I just don't like it. It's another
So
lazy
no,
trope.
I
I
mean
just don't like it.
no, it is lazy trope. Did it happen more than once in the season?
Well, no, they just showed her.
Okay, yeah. So I mean,
Uh,
like in that way, I don't really care. I don't really care that much. Like she kind of came off as a bitch to me. I never liked her the whole time, and she was kind of made to be an unlikable character. So that's why it was intentional because she was holding back the protagonist. Our main characters,
yeah.
the girl and Geralt. So I don't even care. She wasn't a villain, but she was definitely not supposed to be a character we like. So it's okay to me. I hate it much more when they ruin a character that we're supposed to be super attached to rather than a character we're not supposed to be super attached to.
Best part of the series is Geralt, Henry Cavill.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think I could just watch a whole series of him doing his side missions, and I wish this series was like that. That it'd be more focused on him, and I don't know how it is in the books or whatever, but like kind of like how a Batman series would be, where you'd focus mostly on Batman, then have these other side characters that are helpful and important, but I'd rather just focus on him the whole time.
Yeah, so this, I said at the beginning, I do like this season, and I don't hate the side things, I guess, as much as you do. There's a lot of things that I don't think are nice and I don't think are entertaining or whatever, but I don't hate them. Like I said, the Yennefer stuff, I'm motivated to watch her, see what she's doing. I like everything Henry Cavill does basically in this show. I don't think there was ever a misstep. They never emasculated him. He just keeps gaining more and more masculine traits. In season 2 as well, guess what? He's a great father now. He's a great protective father in season 2. Just keep on racking up the points. But I don't think I don't think any aspect of this was unwatchable. I like the little nonsense with the bard for the most part. He's an annoying piece of shit character, but
His
Geralt
hair,
treats it.
his hair needs
Yeah,
to
yeah.
change.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's supposed to be, I think, embarrassing kind of, but he's annoying as hell. Geralt treats him that way when he's along for that little mission up the mountain where they met that dragon who was apparently just an old man, whatever. He was just full of piss and vinegar the whole time, not helping with anything. And it didn't really hurt them is the thing too. A lot of the stuff that is unsatisfying to see in shows usually where they have an annoying ass character and he ends up screwing things over for everybody. Now they have to backtrack. That never really happens. He's just there, I guess, for comic relief or whatever. I don't know. He kind of comes off charismatic to me, and most things in this show do. It's just, it isn't all it could be. That's what I'll say for sure, because we have such great fantasy, medieval stuff to compare it to, like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. But I'd rather watch this than the Hobbit series, like 10 out of 10 times. I'd rather watch this than the Hobbit movies. Just for example, you know what I mean? It is a low bar. Or I'd rather watch this than the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones for sure. Or actually, if I was just gonna sit down and binge something self-contained, I'd rather watch season 1 of Witcher than Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is such a hefty thing to start consuming, and it's not like 10 times better than Witcher.
At least I know what's going on in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah,
well acted. This one's kind of, I don't know. This one feels, there's just so many aspects of it. It feels, I understand it's like lower budget because it's like its first season, and you can't go all in. And just like in Game of Thrones season 1, there's parts of it you're like, oh, this looks so bad compared to where it gets later. I don't know. I just really wish it was focused around Geralt the whole time. And honestly, well, after seeing him, I'm like, oh, dude. Can you imagine if he was his name Ragnar? Who's Daenerys' older brother that dies to Robert Baratheon? In Robert's Rebellion. He'd be great, wouldn't he? Can you imagine him fighting a Robert?
Rhaegar.
Oh, dude, be so cool.
He'd be so huge. Holy shit, that'd
be great.
So but I mean, I agree with you. I wish he was more of a part of it, and I like every single thing they do with him in this. I like when he goes and fights that weird mutated girl. I like when he does the whole conflict with the djinn, right, where he's trying to get that wish. By the way, that djinn is super powerful. It can do anything it wants. It's free now, too. Like, holy shit. I like when he just fights that monster at the beginning. The best action scene in the whole movie is in the first movie. The best action scene in the whole series is in the first episode, where he easily dispatches all those, like, drunken bar people. That Asian guy who says, like, you mutant son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, why don't they could have had an awesome action sequence with him at the end. Why didn't they have him there? But they're like, no, we have to do this important flashback. That I'm like, I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about what this flashback. Which makes me think most of everyone else's backstory should have been told in flashbacks. They should have just been like, Yennefer, flashbacks. Just get us right to the action. I don't care about this.
They did. Yennefer's whole entire backstory. No. It was just one big flashback.
Yeah, across like 5 episodes or however.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It should have been like a half episode, and she could have just been like, okay, and you could have given way more sympathy because you wouldn't have to go into the dirty details of every step of the way. Well, I guess one last thing I have about Geralt. Is that how you say it, right? Geralt.
Yes.
Can we get some better looking eye contacts, color contacts here? These look so obvious.
Look that bad.
They look so bad. They look like gold. Obvious. They look like Dr. Evil from Goldmember. Remember when he gets blue contacts and you're like, holy shit, tone it down a notch here. That's what it looks like. Make them like a little less obviously yellow.
Oh, listen, man. I haven't read the books either, whatever, but I've seen gameplay of the games. I've watched like most of the cutscenes from Witcher 3, and his eyes are pretty fucking yellow. They're yeller.
Well, I mean, I don't mind. Okay, I don't mind that they're yellow. I just don't like the pupils. I think it's mostly the idea that pupils don't move up and down with them. Do you know what I'm saying? Where
right.
It looks like your eyes are the same, even though it's like really dark. So your eyes, your pupil should get really large, and the yellow should be less noticeable in your eye.
It actually
Vice versa
it
with the
doesn't
son.
bother me, but this is one of those things too where it's like Henry Cavill, you know his like leather armor he has in season 1, right? Like the studded
Yeah.
leather armor. He looks badass, okay? He looks badass. His sword play is super cool. His hair is actually super cool, and his eyes, you don't like it, but I think it's fine. It's whatever. Even even Henry, like I think the eyes are just so yellow that it breaks into this point while still being in a fantasy world. If Henry Cavill was in this world, like our real world, dressed
Uh,
the way he is, and having a sword, it does not matter how jacked and masculine he is. It's cringe, no matter what. No matter what, if he was walking down the street with a sword and in leather armor and shit, he's cringe. And I think that the eyes are just so yellow, so unbelievable that it kind of forces it into the real world a little bit. And I get that slight cringe while it's
no,
still
no.
in the fantasy world.
It's
That's what I
so
think.
cringe. It's so
It is.
you know what this whole series feels like it's one step up from cosplay, and it's unfortunate because I would like to. I love Henry Cavill. I want to see him in like almost everything, and yeah, it's I don't know, cringe.
I think this thing's main problem is just it wanted to introduce so many different things in such a specific way, and they weren't willing to compromise on how they wanted to do it, and it led to this whole timeline fiasco and all these characters that do different things. I think that's all it is. They just bit off more than they could chew with like the budget that they had, with the time that they had. If this thing was 20 episodes, I think it would have been a lot more clear. Not that it would have been better, because who knows, that might have just been boring as hell, but
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I have one more complaint about series as a whole, the universe as a whole. Did you ever watch? There's an animated movie on Netflix too for The Witcher.
Oh, I haven't, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, you should watch it. And they only make a little bit some remarks to it in season 1 of here, but they do it in season 2 now as I'm watching it as well. Everybody just shits on the Witchers for requiring money, like for their services. Like they'll be like, Geralt's like I'm willing to help, and they're like, oh yeah, only if there's coin in it for you, I bet. It's like, yeah, maybe if I'm gonna go risk my life, I'm gonna demand like 25 cents so I can go get a candy bar after this. Is that okay with you? Can I get
Yeah,
payment for my money? Do you guys do work for free? In the animated movie, it's you don't even know, man. It's mentioned like 1,000 times. Like
Oh yeah.
everybody just shits all over these guys
That's
for.
what. It's not like, hey, you live in this city and we're under attack. You should help us. And he's like, what's in it for me? It's like, oh, your livelihood. This is like, I'm a traveling witcher and I'm just passing by. And they're like,
I'm literally for
would you be
hire.
willing
Yeah,
to? Yeah. Would you be willing to help? What's in it for me? Oh, I bet you just want some fucking coin, huh? Oh, look at you,
they do. They say this
grubby
shit.
piece of
They
shit.
do. Yeah. So that's so weird. Like get some perspective, man. Like what do you do for free? You fucking king. All right, that's it.
This series could be as perfect as Hunchback Yennefer, but instead it wants to cut out its uterus and be the gross, transformed version of her.
Oh,
So,
dude, trans Yennefer sucks.
pass. I want to smash that dirty, big slop Hunchback Yennefer all day.
Yep. Absolutely.